Looks like it's preparating. All right, all right, all right. I think we are ready to rock and roll on this amazing, fantastic, fanatical day. Man, welcome guys to another edition of the World Building Podcast. Today, I have my man, my Dizzle, man, going back almost 20, 25 years in these streets, my brother Larry C. Jones Jr. How you feeling, my man?
Man, I'm feeling great, man. I appreciate you having me. I'm excited, and let's get it, man. I'm here. I'm all in.
Man, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule because you stay a busy man nowadays. And your evolution. Many people don't know that I've known you for so long, rocking back to the cuts and corners of the streets of San Francisco. We all was kind of out there more than others. But give us a little heads up of who you are and so forth so we can dive into my conversation for today with you.
Larry C. Jones Jr., as I go off my name. The elephant in the room got to come out that MACK 10 is a big part of my upbringing, and it's a well-known thing. That's who I am. Depending on who you are, where you're at, you're gonna hear that. And some people won't let it go. But I'm a grandfather of three triplets. I'm a father of two. Now I have one. I'm a I'm a I'm a Christian. I'm a advocate of the Sunnydale Public Housing Projects, but I'm dedicated to the Black population, the city of San Francisco. I transcended my neighborhood to include Blackest period, just humans period, families period. It don't matter where you're from anymore with me. But coming up, it was so tight, I had to focus on what was afflicting me, which
Mm-hmm.
was the St. Louis Public Housing Projects. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I'm a compassionate man. I'm a smart, intelligent man. I'm
Mm-hmm.
motivated and I'm driven to be great. And I've now broken the chains off me of fear and worried about what people think about me in terms of public perception of who they want me to be. So
Mm-hmm.
now that I'm free, I'm flying high and I like the view from up here.
Yeah. Let me ask you something because we'll delve into a few different things. But you and I both are from the city of San Francisco. We both have navigated the streets in many forms. But before we talk about that, you, for the last several years, like you have catapulted and really, really made yourself not only a persona of impact and influence, but you decided to really, really make a change for the better. And it's starting to make such a significant influence in the city of San Francisco, but also the Bay Area. Why did you do that and when?
It was it was easy to keep faking it. And internally, I knew all the time that I wasn't living who I proclaimed to be out my mouth and what people thought I was in terms of my actions.
Mm-hmm.
And I was comfortable with that because as long as everybody else was happy, I felt like that's what was okay, but I was unhappy inside. So going home after the uniform comes off, this community great guy that says all the great things and does greater things is destroyed inside. He's hurting, he's full of pain, he doesn't know how to deal with it, he's drinking,
Mm.
and he's just destroyed inside. And so I found God and I dedicated my life to the Lord, and I didn't have no clue what that would be. I
Yeah.
felt out of touch in church because I had only been to church for funerals. So
Mm.
in the church, I hear voices telling me, "Why are you here?" I had somebody actually ask me that. "What are you doing here?" I had a lady slam the door on my face when I showed up at a random church for Bible study and never opened it back. And I just felt like I didn't know how to act with that. But when I found a church home, which is Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church,
Mm-hmm.
and I settled down. And it took me a while. They didn't rush me. They knew I was resourceful, but they didn't know how
Mm.
resourceful. Nobody
Mm.
used me for that. That was important to me. They didn't know what they had, but they
Uh-huh.
treated me with love. But that was about 2 or 3 years ago. And as I've opened up now, they expect this of me because they know who I am. And I feel better that I deliver not
Yes.
only on what people see me for being, but what I know I am. And I've learned to watch my mouth in terms of positioning myself to do things that I know I can handle instead of doing things that I want to handle and I
Mm-hmm.
would like to handle. So it's a big difference. But now I move with focus and I act with precision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really dedicated to my systems that keep me leveled. And God is a big part of that because I always ask myself, if God treated you how you're treating people, how would that feel? And I roll like that now. And I don't, people question my faith, why do you pay tithes? And a lot of things I get from people who don't understand because they don't feel what I feel. I can't
Mm-hmm.
make people feel the spirit. I could tell them about it. They see it in me. And when they ask me about my change, I throw that out there and they run from it. And that's okay because I didn't grow up religious, so I didn't know either. So I understand where they're at. But that's a big part of my transition. And I'm really, really comfortable with my spirituality now.
Brother Larry, you and I, well, I grew up in West Side. Um, but when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, I feel like that's the person that made me who I was at 16, 17 years old. You got the name Mac 10.
Yeah.
One, I want to ask you, where did that come from? Two, I want to talk about the young man, 11, 12, 13, who was taking care of the household. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. My mom was great and she did what she could do with what she had. And she grew up in the Republican controlled 80s systematically. It was just a lot. And then, with a lot of affliction she was dealing with, she did the best she could with us. But, eventually with no dad in the house and the neighborhood I was in, the pull of the streets was amazing. And it's tough to stop a man when you are not a man and you don't really have that connection to a man. My mom did the best she could, but they called me man since I was like 6 years old. So I
Mm-hmm.
was always told that you're the man and you're the man of this house from all my relatives get on that beer and they tell me this growing up. So I put that in my database as a kid that I at 8, 9 years old have to protect this house, and I don't even know how to really cook eggs, but I'm put in this position to have to be the protector of the house. But when I got 11, 12 years old, the need for money overwhelmed me. And, in the neighborhood, there were always guys outside because I was always one of the good young fighters. I was one of the good athletes. So they liked me. They let me go to the store for them and I bring them back the right change because I was smart. And, just the $20 back in 1985 was like $200 to me and my friends. And so just, it was a big backpack when I look back at it that I had to carry because I had a little brother and sister, and I wanted to make sure that they were right because, them days when there wasn't that much food and stuff like that. That's tough when you got to go outside and when you're going back in the house, there's nothing to eat. I didn't want that on my little people, so I had to make sure that I did things that I wasn't really proud of, but at the time it had to be done, and so I'm partaking in
What
neighborhood
what did
stuff.
you do first? What did you do first? Were you just like selling different products or
I was a
when
lookout. I used to just watch the corners for the guys. I'd be on
okay.
my bike just circling the intersection,
Yeah.
and I had this cat call. They make you say like "woohoo" if the police are coming, and that was good little money, but it
Yeah.
wasn't nothing like. Then I became a holder where they would buy me a video game, put me in the house, and all me and my friends would sit in the house and play video games, and I'd have the backpack with the stuff in it, and the guys would come and I would go outside and do the stuff and make sure the big guy come get his bag. That
Mm-hmm.
paid more. And then after a while, I started riding with the guy because I was recruited, which I didn't know. I just thought he was nice to me. But my grandmother hated him because she knew and she told me if he ever pulled up in front of her house again, that would be the end of me. And so he would drop me
Mm-hmm.
off by Providence Church.
Mm.
Mendale, and I would
Hmm.
walk 2 blocks to my grandmother's house so she wouldn't see him because she despised him. And then she'd go in my pants at night, and I'd wake up and my money would be on the table. And then she took my money one day and bought groceries and cooked out for the family. And everybody that came over there, she told them, "Go thank man in there. He paid for everything." And everybody's like, "How'd man get money?" And yeah, that was all that, man. It was tough.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, growing up in the neighborhood and so forth. There's always like one or two or three people that we admire to or look up to kind of help craft our craft. Who did you look up to like at that age and being such a youngster?
Um, Looked up to Ricky Henderson, Tony Dorsett, and then there were a couple guys in my neighborhood. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the guy that recruited me, I looked at him as a father figure because
Mm,
I didn't know nothing else. He gave me
yeah.
money, he bought me clothes, and he taught me some things that I utilized and I grew with it and I still run by it. Like I was blessed that I wasn't recruited by what we call a bum.
Hmm.
His way of living was upper level. So he
Hmm.
taught me a lot of principles of how not to be in the neighborhood to be okay.
Hmm.
And that after years of being out there, I learned that that was a great outline he gave me because I wasn't a scandalous person. I wasn't breaking in people's houses. I wasn't disrespecting seniors. I had to act right. You know how they say, we had a way to act right about ourselves.
Yeah.
And I saw some people who were recruited by negative, evil people that did horrible things, and they ended up, going through a lot more negative transitions than I had to out there in the projects, going to jail and getting in unnecessary quarrels and stuff like that. So, I looked up to him. I'm not gonna name him, but he was like a father figure to me. And then outside, there was always a couple uncles
Hmm.
in the area, but I looked up to my uncle Bernie, which was my mom's brother. And he
Hmm.
died in a motorcycle crash when I was like 10. And I always tell people that if he hadn't died, there would have been no MAC 10
Hmm.
because he would not have allowed that at all. And I wouldn't have tried it because I was scared of him because he was the one that put his hands on me when I needed to be checked. And if he came over, if it wasn't for ice cream or McDonald's, I knew it was going to be my rawhide. So
Hmm.
if he didn't die, that was like when he died, that kind of crushed me in terms of respecting men in my life because I didn't have nobody else to step up until I got recruited into the streets.
Let me ask you this. 20, 30 years later, do you see have the culture evolved? Has it gotten worse? Has it gotten lessened in your opinion?
Wouldn't say it's gotten worse. I would say that they're being cheated by the cohesiveness that we had growing up. They don't really know
Yeah.
love right now. Everything is predicated on designer material and money.
Hmm.
Money wasn't the factor back in the 80s and late 70s when I was coming up because everybody loved everybody. It was a harmony in the neighborhood. We were all living in the so-called ghetto, but you couldn't tell. People
Yeah.
would come to my house and they wouldn't want to leave. And I'd be like, wait, you got a house up in Diamond Heights. Why you want to stay here all the time? But they love to walk around and see a lot of people outside playing, people playing music, people giving you stuff to take to your mama, and just outside. We go outside at 8 in the morning. You don't come back till 8 at night, and just that kind of love. That's not around no more. Everybody's shades are down. They're scared in their homes. Nobody knows their neighbors anymore. It's like everybody's robotically functioning. Their cell phones and everything's done through digitization and not actualization. No one socializes really in the community. And so that's why I stand out because I talk to people in person. And
Yeah.
I think that's what they're missing now, these young people. They don't have any feeling.
Yeah. Do you feel like, nowadays we have peers and social people that we know that are in government, in law enforcement. Do you feel like there's a connection with that nowadays, or there still needs to be some better pathways into into politics, into the police community? What's your opinion on that?
Start with the police in the community. Like, I feel like it's a double-edged sword because the young people now are so antisocial and so inflicted by the music and how they think people expect them to be. They don't talk to the cops. Where back when I was young, Sarge always pulled up. He'd pull up and say, "Hey, Larry, your license is suspended. Go check that out." Not
Mm,
tripping, but letting us
mm,
know. And we would tell Sarge, or Sarge would pull up and say, "Hey, man, your boy got a
mm,
warrant. You better talk to him." So the
mm,
community policing was he trusted certain people, not everybody, but I was one of the ones he could communicate with where that line wasn't being crossed of you're a snitch, but we would work with him to make sure that the lay of the land was okay. And if
mm,
guys thought they had a warrant, I would go and say, Sarge, T didn't make it to court yesterday. Is he still bad in the system, or can we take him down to get him right? And if he wasn't right, Sarge will say, I tell him what, I'll give him 3 days to clear it
mm,
up. And I'm gonna back
mm.
up off him. But if I see it Friday, we coming to get him. And so that would allow us that kind of relationship. I don't see that anymore with the younger officers. They're more into enforcement, but at the same time, with the drugs and the things that's out here now with these young people, they're 8, 9, 10 years old with guns. It's more dangerous that way. It wasn't that dangerous with kids back when we were growing up because
Yeah.
nobody allowed kids to partake in the streets. Now there's an open field, so they're 9 and 10 years old outside.
How do you see, because we grew up in the 80s and 90s, like crack started coming in the 80s and 90s, like really, really heavy. How do you compare that nowadays to the fentanyl and that's going on throughout the day nowadays?
I look at the effects of it neurologically on the brain. And it's like physical drugs now, like the
Mm,
heroin, the
mm,
Percocets, the opiates that demand you. Like back in the 80s, if you didn't smoke some crack or whatever, you didn't suffer when you didn't have it. You didn't have convulsions or you didn't have to go commit crimes because you were sick. But now with the Percocets, these kids have to rob, steal, and sometimes kill because they have to have it in a cycle, or they'll be sick, or they'll be hunched over in fentanyl. This stuff is humanly made, and it's just killing these kids and people on contact. It's such a Russian roulette that they're even willing to play this kind of game and just put anything in their mouth that people
yeah,
give to them. It's different back then because now you don't even know who you're getting this stuff from. These kids are
yeah.
just getting it from whoever, and that opens the door up for the tragic endings.
What's the biggest barrier between police and community nowadays? The biggest barrier.
The biggest barrier is the negligence and trauma killing
Mm,
because there's such a history of things the police have done. Like when I did what I did when I was 15, I was tired of the police doing what they were doing to me. We see this so rapidly, drugs being planted, homes being raided illegally, police lying in public and knowing that they do things that they say they don't do, and the trust is gone. Generations spilled back to when my uncles used to tell me they were no good. And then I started to see it, and then they're training the new cops. And so when you see a cop come in and who's training them, you already know the kind of cop he's going to be. And that's sad. So you'll see a young man being driven around by a very no good cop. You know, after a while, he's going to take on that blueprint and he's just another negative cop and he's only 25. So it's like an infectious disease. And I just think over the years, no one's healed from that. And so now when the cops come in, they're coming in to oppress the oppressed and the community is already defensive. So we don't allow them in. And what we talked about earlier is the barrier. There's no relationship now with the senior officers to
mm,
come in and try to smooth stuff out because now the youth are younger. There's no real leadership, and the guys in their 20s and 30s, they're still trying to be in their teens in their behavior. So there's no leader mentally that can tell these young people, hey, I always felt like we needed the cops to be an ally because we had enough of them as enemies.
yeah.
So the few we can talk to that really don't lie to us or not trying to backdoor us, we need to make them allies. And I always volunteered to be the one to smooth that bridge. We don't have too many of them out here no more.
Yeah. Let me back up just a little bit because you said a key word that really still impacts me, and that is triggers and trauma. Like, I don't think I understood the word triggers and traumas in my 20s, 30s, barely in 40s because of the triggers and traumas and the experiences that I had to go through, but and still unpacking what that was back then that makes me the person today. Can you talk about that for yourself?
Yeah, well, triggers and traumas, sometimes we don't even know what triggers the trauma. Like I have some guys that have lost their mother. They don't want to be around any conversations negative about moms. They don't want to see anybody disrespectful to their moms. They take it so personal. They will attack a person, and it's not even their mama, but they're triggered by the loss of their mom, and
Mm,
they haven't healed from that. Me, you know, me growing up, my trigger was my father. I hated black men. And that's why I did bad in school when I had black male teachers. But nobody asked me or
mm,
noticed that I did great in women led classes, but I did horrible in men led classes. Nobody said, Larry, do you like men, or are you afflicted by your dad's absence? So these traumas that we have, to some people, might not even be identifiable. And when a person is afflicted by it, and sometimes we see people say, oh man, he's just going off for nothing. No, he's not going off for nothing. Something happened. Somebody said something or did something that triggered him to have that kind of response. And so I just feel with the mental health deficit that we're facing in terms of like services being offered, actual services, not services that are said as going on, but are actually going on as a difference. We don't have outlets to talk, so all we can do is voice ourselves by our actions. We'll break windows and kick cars over and we'll burn up stuff. And that's just our way of saying, hey, pay attention to me. Something's wrong here. But you know, it's tough with the trauma because it stacks up like hotcakes until it just spills over. And when it spills over, actions lead the way, and that's when bad things happen.
yeah. Your role nowadays, and we'll get into that in just a minute here, because you're now considered an expert, and rightfully so, uh, in terms of dealing with traumas and triggers in our youth and our young adults. Like we don't unpack that or put it into its proper framework so that it can be understood, so it can be treated right a little better. Based on your professionalism nowadays, what do you think is the root causes of violence in our urban communities, both in the city, but also around the Bay Area and the world?
But it's a media driven world. And the image that's being pumped to society is violence is cool, jail is fun. They allow inmates
Mm,
with phones to send back videos of them having fun in cells. 8 and 9 young black men laughing and rapping like life is great in there. They're cooking steaks on stairs. They're allowing this message to come out of the prison to our young people like, hey, commit your crimes because when you come up here, you can still wear Jordans. You can
mm.
still look cool. You can have money on you in your cell. And I just think that the message that's pumped to our people through music, through TV, what they're showing, influences perception to where it's okay now. They have a term that they say crash out. All the young people want to crash out, women
Mm.
and men. And it's a fad now. Like, oh, he about to crash out. They pump it up now, and they
What is that?
actually crashing out means you're willing to do whatever it takes to hurt anybody around you. It's just like what we call going crazy.
Uh,
But when the young people crash out, that's when you got school shootings, you got on-site violence. It's a very negative thing, but it's a thing that I had
mm,
to ask the young people, like, hey, because they told me one time, like, man, get him. He about to crash out. The only crash I knew was an automobile wreck. I'm like, well, what is he about to crash? And when I
mm.
got the 21 on it, I said, oh, man, I started to see it more and more. Now it's in music. And if you just look up crash out, they have a whole thing of videos of youth crashing out because they pumped it to our people so much.
Wow.
What you see and what you hear is things that you act on. When I was young, Tupac had an album called Strictly for My Niggaz.
Hmm.
Things he said in certain songs, I acted out every day of my life. the Boys in the Hood movie, when Ice Cube drove around looking for the guy who killed his brother, and they had that song playing,
Mm-hmm.
I bought the soundtrack, and I'd ride around Sunnydale at 6 in the morning looking for somebody to shoot while that song was playing because I wanted to act that part out. I'd ride
Mm-hmm.
around the neighborhood at 6 in the morning, like if I see anybody that look like I'm ready to down them, and I'm gonna do what Ice Cube did in the movie. And so by me acting this stuff out in my life, I understand the power of persuasion
Yeah.
with media, and that's where we're at with this violence. It's so talked about in a great form that they have no problem doing it.
So, how do you balance prevention, intervention with violence when it's already a reality?
Always know that if I can be saved, anybody could be
Okay.
saved. So
Okay. Okay.
I run off that premise that hey, I look in the mirror. Okay, real quick, I had a guy, and his name is Nine, and I'm 10. His
Mm-hmm.
name is 29. He's a great guy. He came to the 3-on-3 tournament, and I introduced you to him, the light skinned guy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
he told me at Planet Fitness, we were in between sets. He said, "Hey, how old are you now?" I said, "I'm 51." He said, and I've been talking to you how long? I said, "Since I was 12." He said, "You just got yourself together." When you said that happened 2019, I said, "Yeah, I was 45." He said, "So you mean to tell me it took you 33 years
Wow.
of me talking to you for you to finally get it and do it?" So whenever you got a problem with some kids that's hard to touch, you remember that it took you 33 years of people pouring into you. So never quit on them. And so, and that was a checkup I got maybe 5 months ago. And that
Mm,
was enough, put chills through me. Like, I went home like, dog it, 33 years. And Nine
mm,
was always on my back, not with the
mm,
negative, because he knew I was already in the negative, but
mhm.
he would teach me how to be positive in the negative. You don't always have to be disrespectful and say bad words to be tough, or you don't have to run around doing idiotic behavior to be looked at with respect. And so when he gave me that, I said, okay, so now when I deal with young people, some are ready to be saved, some not.
Yeah.
So when you find the ones that's not ready and you know they're kind of gone, just let them know, like you did me.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's
yeah,
let's
yeah.
let's get to that.
Come on
You
now.
you you'd come through, same smile, same approach. Hey, what's up, Mac? Oh, it's not good right now, big bro. Like you should leave. Not
Yeah.
one time did you get mad at me. Like it was all right. I'll catch you on
Yeah.
the flip,
Yeah.
and you come back. And I used to be like, well, why is he back? But you stayed coming back. And so when you, after a while, our conversations became, let's step over here real quick. Like it ain't
Yeah.
good here, but let's go in the middle of the buildings over here and talk. So you start getting more of my attention because of your persistence and your energy.
Yeah.
And so now look where we're at now. You come back, you bring me into CAG with the same get down as you came to Blythedale with back in the 90s. Then we were like, what's wrong with this guy? You know, first everybody was saying, hey, who's this white boy walking with the nation? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
who
yeah,
is he?
yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. But he comes here and he cool, but I don't know. It was a lot of I don't knows. My boys was questioning a lot of things about you. But you walked in the middle of landmines and you were smiling. And so
Oh, 100%.
that being said,
100%.
the things that was poured into me, I look back. I got a book that I go in to remind myself of what I was given, and that helps me give. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
go into that, and so I had to use you as the ultimate carrot because you did what you did for me, and it's facts.
Yeah. It's funny when I was in Zambia walking down, the slum streets, they kept saying something in Zambian. And I was like, bro, what are they saying? What are they saying? He was like, oh, bada. They're just letting the community know that white man walking down the street. I said, oh hell. Hey, sometimes we have to know what the
Hey,
situation is and what the environment is. And when you're on the mission and when you have a purpose and when you have what you're out there for, there's intentionality to avoid all the extra noise. So speaking of that, you over the last couple of years have really, really and continue to make significant impact in the system positively
Mhm.
and dealing with the courts and dealing with the youngsters. Can you share a little bit about that? You know, kind of what you're doing and why you're doing it.
4 years ago, I went to a court date for a couple young men from the neighborhood. They were trying to pin them on a gang injunction, which I felt was unfairly because they weren't deep into the streets as the district attorney was trying to label them. And had they got put on the gang injunction, that would have followed them for the rest of their life. It would have affected them getting jobs, going to college, and all that. So I showed up, but I wasn't on the list to testify because I was just there to support. And one of the guys from the community that they put up on the stand, the DA literally destroyed him because he actually didn't know what he was talking about, and they exposed him. And
Character
so
witnesses is no joke.
he did more harm than good.
Mm.
And so when we left out, the judge, I mean, the lawyers were frustrated. I said, "Hey, if you want, I could come back and get up there." And they were like, "You?" I was like, "Yeah, man," because I identified like 5 potholes that got created, and I was like, I could fix this, I could fix that, I could fix this, I could fix that. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. They were like, "You think you could do that?" I said, "Yeah, and I guarantee you I won't crack like that egg."
Mm-hmm,
And so they
mm-hmm.
brought me back 2 days later, and I got up there, and I did what I said. And when the DA came to me, the DA went in, and it was just like, to me, it was exciting because I'm like, oh, I had to tap into my intellect and my know-how. And when I did that, when I left, the lawyer was like, "Yo, I've never seen nothing like that up there. Like, you were commanding attention. The judge liked you. The DA backed up off you. You should think about doing this because your expertise is different." I said, "Expertise?" I said, "Okay." So they called me back about a few months later and said, "Hey, you want to try that again? We need your
Yeah,
help." And so now I'm in
yeah.
the war room with attorneys going over footage of crimes, and they're sitting there like students because they don't see what I see. And as
Mm.
I'm pointing it out, they're like, "Oh my God." And so I did it again. And they're a fraternity, so lawyers talk amongst themselves. Then I got a call from San Jose. "Hey, we heard you do good things from my colleague. Can you come down here and talk to some interns that are?" So I'm down there talking to like 25 little law students.
Yeah.
And after that, it got to the point where now I am a street expert. And I've been in all the counties
Mm-hmm.
that I cater to, like Contra Costa, San Mateo, Santa Clara, Alameda, San Francisco. The judges know me. The DAs know me when they see me outside. And it's kind of taken off to the point where now that I'm about to go global with it and I'm building up a site because somehow I've created a lane that no one's doing the way I do it, is what I was told by the lawyers. Like, they try, but that cross examination is another world, big brother. I'm gonna tell you, it's no joke sitting in that box with 12 sets of eyes looking right here, and the 2 eyes of the judge sitting right here, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's waiting on you to crumble. And you can't crumble, and you can't make one mistake as a black man, let alone
Mm-hmm.
a black man coming from my past. It's tense. And so, I do it now. It's taken off. And I'm really proud that I've been able to help people who the system was trying to lie on and illegally terminate, get them back on the streets. And the families see me because first they're like, "Mac 10, what you doing here?" I'm like, "Shh, shh." And I'm in the hallway and they don't know why I'm there. Like, "Well, why is he sitting out here?" Because I can't go on the court. Next thing you know, the judge, they come on, "Larry, come in." And I'm in there and they're in the audience. And then I get up there and do my thing. They're like, "Whoa." And I leave out because I don't never mix my street with my profession down there. So
Yeah.
when I leave
Yeah.
out, I'll see you guys on 3rd Street. I'll see you on Fillmore Street, Page
Mm-hmm.
Street. We'll talk there
Mm-hmm.
in our office. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to talk
Mm-hmm.
down here. Down
Mm-hmm.
here is boots on the ground.
Yeah. Streets
Yeah.
to C-suite. Hey, I want to give a shout out to 365, Cord, Amy, Ron, Raymond, Jeff, Alicia. Thank you for watching out. If you guys have any question that you want to ask Larry, feel free to drop it in the comment section, and we'll be sure to do that as we start to wrap things up. Man, I got so many other questions, but we only got about 7 to 10. So let me do as many as I
I'm gonna
can.
have to do a little hot seat, huh?
100%.
A 1 minute answer pop. Let's go.
Yeah. So you I mean, obviously, yes, you are a part of the King's Accountability Group. And I, I did that for a purpose because of the influence, the what you were doing in the streets and so forth, and because of the background and experience that we came from. Can you share a little bit about, models, systems, routines, like things that help you now, but things that are helping you that's going to get you to your future self that's even more impactful?
Yeah, real quick, shout out to 365 because he put value into everything that I assess, from what I eat to what I do, where I hang, who I'm hanging with. Shout out to AJ and Vic for putting together a presentation that made me be accountable for 2 weeks of my time to spot, I won't even call them potholes, they were volcano holes of what I was doing with my time. And my nighttime routine and my morning routine are so pristine now. It took a lot of work because one had to work with the other, but now we're together and everything is flowing to where my mind is cool, my body is great, I'm happy, and I no longer second guess myself because I got systems in play that I know when I make a decision, I'm going to execute it, and whatever the outcome is, I'm prepared to go from there. So I don't move with fear. I move tactical, and I had to cut off some people because I had to realize that the value outside, when I'm sitting outside with six people and the only one who has something to lose is me, I shouldn't be there. And that's what CAG has helped with me. It's helped me identify flaws that I was able to correct with examples and advice from credible people that look like me, that I respect, which is not was new for me to be around that circle. I was uncomfortable at first, but now I'm swimming with the fishes and I'm
Hmm.
really comfortable. And it's one of the best things that's ever happened in my life.
What's one thing that you was resistance to at first? Like what was it? Was it morning routine? Was it?
Was leaving the set.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was just so embedded in my soul that I had to be Thor and carry this project on my back. And now I've sat it down because a guy named Partizan told me a long time ago, when I used to be running down the street trying to shoot at everybody, he told me, man, go back up that hill, man. Everybody gonna take care of themselves out here. You ain't gotta do everything. And I kind of equate that to, he said, you're gonna drive yourself crazy always running down here to Santos trying to get involved. This ain't your business.
Mhm.
And so now I understand that Sunnydale is gonna be what it's gonna be, and I better serve it by being more evolved than I would be stagnant. And so it's just letting go of the set that was holding me back. I just so used to holding it tight, I didn't know how to let it go. But now that I've let it go in my mind, it's freed up a whole lot more in my life. And now I'm a lot more beneficial to the neighborhood. I didn't see that.
That's fantastic. Brother Greg, we see you. Thank you for joining us as well. Okay, so if you had the power to redesign our community, safety as well as flourish from the ground up, what would that look like?
I would take all of the guys that grew up in my era, I would put us into a tank, cleanse their mind, cleanse their soul, get them off drugs, and give them a focus to give back with the talent that I know they have, because they're just like me. They
Mm,
just been swayed to the left. To go back and grab the guys who looked up to them, who they lost respect from because they're on heroin or they're
mm,
doing things that the young people don't respect, and revamp that, because we are the gatekeepers. We're the leaders. They following us. We just went
yeah,
left.
yeah.
So if we turn back around and say, hey, I need you to do this, they're gonna listen until they feel like you're off track and they don't want to follow you no more. So I would just grab everybody. I would focus them on remaining men and not trying to be kids again. Because a lot of our 50, 45 plus, they want to go back into their 20s and impress young people to seem cool. And it gives mixed signals. So that's
Hmm.
what I would do, T. I would put us in the tank and cleanse us and shake us up and put us back with purpose on a mission.
I love it. Alisa has a question and says, in your development, how have your family and peers received you? Was there any negative pushback from your development? Oh, that's a great question. What a great question.
Ask that. Who asked that question?
Alicia.
Alicia. I had friends that didn't speak to me for 8, 9 months. They were so angry at what I was doing. They made bets as to who would be the one to get me back to the streets to do what I left alone.
Mm.
And I knew that because I used to be part of them bets of, oh, you trying to do this? Oh, yeah, whatever, Negro. We're going to get you back. We live to get you back. And my family is, oh, I love my family, but they didn't want to accept my transition because they could no longer get into me the way they used to. No knock to them because I allowed this to happen. I let it grow, but to not become as accessible. I'm not drunk anymore. I'm not easily giving my money up. I'm not paying 10-day notices with 1 day of notice. So things that I came into play, how to ask you questions to help you get your own stuff together instead of me trying to save you and bail you out. And that's not solving the root. So it was tough. My family was tough. You know, it took them a while to really believe me, but trust that I let them down hundreds of times. So I understand I created that negative energy that it was hard for them to accept that I'm not going to do this. When I've said this over 100 times, Mom, I promise you, Mom, I'm not going to do this. Yeah, right. So it took her like 4 or 5 years to tell me she was proud of me. Like 6 months ago, she looked me in the face and told me she was proud of me. My aunts told me she was proud of me. And now even guys on the street now, they call themselves being my supervisor when they think I'm even thinking wrong. They quick to say, hey, man, you know, we need you to keep doing this and that. And I think it's fun, but it was a tough transition. Trust me. Internally, it was tough, but it was really tough externally because I had a lot of pushback, but they knew not to push too hard.
Ah, that's beautiful. Wow. The second question comes from, oh, look like Court, my wife. So she says, what is your relationship with your mom now that you have developed? So kind of what you just talked about, maybe give that view as well as your father view, because you've had some negative views of your father, which have recently shifted.
Well, my mom, I am my mom. So we've been buttoned for decades, and I have some built-in trauma still left with my mom that we haven't been able to talk about. But in my development, I've forgiven and I kind of moved on. But every now and then I'll still be wishing we could have that conversation. She
Mm,
doesn't want to have the conversation. I understand it because she's such a Leo. She's strong-minded. She does never want to admit that she did something the way it wasn't supposed to be done. And so I've accepted that and I'm cool with it. In terms of my father, I spent so many years of my life being angry at him, at least 40 years of my life hating him and being angry at him that I didn't even allow healing to start. And so one Father's Day, this last one that passed, I said, you know, I'm not going to allow that to consume me no more. Excuse me. I'm gonna take back my power. And when I said that, my aunt reached out, which is my dad's sister, and we
hmm
met for the first time ever. I've never been to my aunt's house. I went there and we had a conversation and she started talking to me about my father. And she was telling me things I never knew. And I was just like, wow, I didn't know this. And nobody on my mom's side, I never heard my mom say a nice word about him. So I didn't know
hmm
the things he went through at 17 and 18. I don't forgive him for all the lies, but I understand going to Vietnam young and getting afflicted on drugs. He was a setback. And so forgiving him helped me out to where just 2 weeks ago, a lady approached me at a concert and said, hey, I know your dad. And I'm like, oh God, here we go again. But she said, no, I remember he used to have you on the front grass boxing, telling us you was gonna
Mm,
be the one. And I said, what?
you
My
was
dad
going to
had
be
me
the
on the grass?
one.
I said, my dad had me on the grass. I don't remember ever being with him. She said, yeah, Larry always had you outside showing you off. I said, damn it. And when I went home, I got a picture with the lady, and I've yet to show my mom, but she used to talk to my uncle. So she was around my father a lot. And when she told me that he used to show me off, and I was like, wow, that was the first time I've ever heard a positive thing about him from somebody
Mm,
as it relates to me. And so
wow.
I think God said, okay, you opened your heart up to forgiveness. Now
Yes,
I'm gonna
sir.
give you what you didn't know. It felt good.
That's beautiful. 365 came in and said, all right, you're becoming this person. He said, what's the next step for you? And this will be the last question, and then
Yeah.
I'll have you close
All
out.
right. All right. The next step for me is to keep ascending, getting better, being more strategic, and figuring out the ultimate path, whether it's my book, whether it's the street expertise going nationwide, but it's time for me going into 2026 to nail down the ultimate
Mm,
goal. And that's where I'm
mm.
at right now in my mind. I'm getting ready to launch the ultimate goal. And the wild card is throwing my name in the hat for supervisor for District 10.
Okay, now come on,
That's where
come
it's gonna
on,
go, and I'm gonna do
come
some
on.
public things with that. But that's like the elephant in the room that I guess I just let out the bag. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna throw my name in that hat to run for supervisor, and that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Them is the three. That's A, B, and C.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, you heard it here. D10. Come
10 for
on.
10, 10 for 10.
10 for 10. 10 for 10. Hey,
That's
that's
the
gonna be
slogan.
the mantra slogan right there. Oh, I
That's
love
it.
it. I
That's it.
love it. Well, families, if you're watching the replay, you're just now dropping in, be sure to rewatch this and get the nuggets that you can get out of it. And really recognize that if you got someone out there that's still on the block, still out on the streets, folks who still haven't got it together in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s, sometimes it takes a little while for us to get it together. And Larry, you are the epitome of that in such a way that, from Yesakak's perspective, me knowing you personally, I have seen you evolve as a man of passion and purpose. I'll go ahead and let you close us out as we get out of here.
I'll say this, man. Like, first off, if people understood what being happy was like, because happiness is frowned on in the neighborhood. When I go outside smiling, people ask me what's wrong with me, and I'm like, nothing. I'm happy, and they don't even know how to answer to that because we don't know what happiness is. But when you find happiness, it's a great place to sit because it keeps everything out of you that's not meant to be happy. Just like when we go outside with negative intentions rather, everything negative comes into that because the door is open. And so I'm gonna leave this nugget and say to whoever's out there watching, if you're talking to somebody that's gone in the streets or not doing what you think they should be doing right, just keep being that solid voice in their head because what you don't know is they go home and they unpack. It's a big backpack that they unpack, but they look and they don't really be happy about what they're doing. But sometimes they don't see no other way but what they're doing. And sometimes what they do is justifiable because things are being done to them that they're reacting to that you have no clue is happening because you're not tapping in right, or it's just not meant for you to know because you're not in that life. But if you stay consistent with care and lead with love, and they know that you're real and you're genuine, they're going to come back to you and just be ready to help them when they need you and don't turn your back because then that's going to send them deeper into the streets. And the people that are watching them are going to be infected by what they're going to tell them, just like they'll be impacted by what they'll tell them if you benefit them by staying solid. So never give up on somebody. And like we said earlier, it took me 33 years
Come on.
get mine together. So don't
Yes,
be
sir.
frustrated from 6 months.
Yeah, there you go. Guys, gals, thank you very much for tuning in for another edition of the World Building Podcast. We appreciate you tuning in with my man Larry C. Jones. And we out of here. See you on the next one. Larry, stand by.